Hey guys, welcome. Hat Tuesday number 33. Hat Tuesday number 33. Yeah, it's been a crazy week. I'm looking at myself on the screen. I'm like, I look a little more tan. I've been going on my walks. The sun's been shining. The weather's been getting a little bit warmer. So hopefully you guys, wherever you guys are, you're getting some of the same. But yeah, it's been a good week. Hopefully it has for you as well. I definitely have at least one of our folks. Oh, there he is right now. Let me add Robert to the stage. Robert,
Good morning.
good morning, sir. How are you? Welcome back from scenic Scotland, right?
Yes, yeah. Um, Fully back, fully recovered from the jet lag, which wasn't too bad.
Yeah.
Um, and back in the shop.
All right, excellent. Well, it's good to have you back. And like I said, definitely Scotland is one of those places that it's on my list. My son has been, and he had nothing but great things to say about Scotland. So I'm looking forward to that one day.
Yeah, it's well worthwhile.
All right, excellent, excellent. So, I mean, it's excellent that we had this topic come up, and obviously we have something planned for next week into what goes into a well-made hat. So, I definitely don't want to spoil that too much there, but it's a great topic because we've talked about this in kind of a cursory fashion about how one gets into hat making, and I really do love your perspective because you keep it real, just like with every topic. You keep it very very sobering and saying, hey, make sure you're not going into it with the wrong expectations.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I
And
mean, if we have folks that want to, chime in with any questions, but I definitely have, because this is going to be something for me. As somebody that's not into hat making, I'm relatively new in the hat journey. Just in case to satisfy my own curiosity. But I guess one of the things that I wanted to ask is, what are some of the things that you think somebody should know, whether before they even entertain going into something like this or taking this on?
um, yeah, great question. Let me back it up just a half step, and
Yeah.
it's in most things there's the seed of the positive, but there's also the seed of the negative, and
Correct.
and I think that really applies to the internet and hat making.
Yeah.
And certainly there's I'm I'm 8 years into my hat making journey,
Yeah.
and even in that relatively short period of time, things have really changed in
Right.
that there is so much more um, online content.
Right.
But the bulk of it is not instructional. It's marketing. You have all of the TikTok videos of the hat makers flaming their hats, or
Yeah.
showing an exciting or sexy part of hat making.
Yeah.
And so while it does uh, help to promote the craft of hat making, it
Yeah.
also gives a false image of, because it makes it appear as though it's easy.
Right. Yeah.
um, and and it's not. And
Right.
from the outside looking in, I mean, and it's true, hat making is a simple process.
Right.
It's not rocket science.
Right.
But as in most crafts, the devil is in the details,
Right.
and we'll cover that more next week. But it's like on the internet you can put two hats side by each and not really be able to discern the difference between the two,
Yeah.
because the difference is um, um, in the details, some of which
Right.
are not discernible to the human eye unless you're actually watching the process of it being built. So it gives this false um, vision that, so people have the thought, I want to be a hat maker because
Right.
it looks like so much fun, which it is,
Right.
and it looks sort of easy and accessible, which is only a partial truth.
Correct.
So that would be my sort of first words of warning is, it's not as easy as it looks.
Right. Yeah, and that's a great point about kind of like the obviously the I'll just call it hatfluencers. That's a term I like to coin and use. You see that a lot out there, and it does, like, it's very showy. It's kind of like a magic show, right?
Mhm.
You see a lot of the lights. Yeah.
Yes.
The sleight of hand almost, and it's cool. It makes for good spectacle. But ultimately, like, from somebody like myself, I don't really know what I'm seeing. But the nice thing is you are always active in terms of for the folks that are in the Facebook, especially the custom hat making group, where folks share their work and other craftsmen can share their opinions and their suggestions about how to improve. I just don't think that a lot of the folks that you see the showiness, I don't think a lot of them are putting their stuff out there and getting that feedback.
Yeah. There was an interesting discussion, was it last week, about certain hatters that are really active in the TikTok and are very showy, and I wasn't part of the discussion because I've never seen one of their hats in my
Yeah.
hand, so it's like I really have no idea. But the discussion was, how good are these hats? I mean, they're very
Right.
popular, successful hat sellers, but to what degree is it based on the quality versus um, the image that they portray? And
Right.
it's like, I don't know, because I don't have enough information to comment on it, but it is valid. Um,
Right.
and the other thing, and let me, because it's really it's really a thing with me,
Yeah. I know
is
you're evangelical, but feel free. Yeah.
because because the internet, it's the great, I don't know, democratization of things, because it makes things accessible to everybody.
Right.
And so if you come to hat making without knowing hats, you have no idea what constitutes a good hat
Right.
versus a mediocre hat versus a very poorly made hat.
Right.
Because you have no standard by which to compare your work.
Right.
And it is the downside of say the Facebook page that I moderate, is that somebody will post a hat,
Yeah.
and the people want to be positive and supportive, and so they'll get all of these comments about, oh, it looks awesome, great hat, man, great
Right.
first effort, all of these niceties.
Yeah.
But the reality is, it's a very poorly made hat.
Right.
And and a lot of hatters, take that praise and think, after making, three, four, five hats, I'm ready to go to market.
Right.
And that's a travesty, because if someone buys a custom hat from a brand new hatter and it's a
Right.
crap hat, it does damage to the whole craft. Because
Right.
if I was that person, and I'm not going to buy another custom hat, I'm not going to take that risk.
Right.
So so in certain circles, um, on the Facebook page, um, I'm not well liked,
Right.
because I'm hypercritical, because I'm
Right.
not, I'm not supportive. And it's like, well, I'm not apologizing for that, because I'm not going to support substandard work,
Right.
and tell a lie that, oh, great hat, man, when it's not.
Yeah. Yeah.
And because the other side of that is, it's in a sense, it's an insult to established hatters that have spent years perfecting their craft,
Right.
and then you get somebody who's on their fourth or fifth hat, and it's like, okay, I've arrived, I'm ready to go to market.
Right.
It's like,
And
well, no, you're
yeah,
not.
and
You're
that's why
not.
that's why I appreciate in terms of like, because okay, that's great, you get some praise to keep going and keep refining your process, but I think your voices like yours are still needed because, well, where's the direction, right? Because not everybody will have access like to Art Fawcett. I mean, you had a unique, I think, really unique, and also really I think it's fantastic experience to be able to go, and I think you sought art out. That was also part of your doing to do that, to be able to get it right from somebody that you respect and knows the knows how it's done and it's successful. Um,
Yeah, I mean, I consider myself incredibly blessed to have had that opportunity,
yeah,
because it is um, somewhat rare.
right.
Particularly because I got it for free. There are hatters out there that are run week-long workshops,
Yeah,
and people seem to um, are happy with it. They get value for their money, but it's like a $5,000 expense
right.
or more. Um, but at least they're being mentored by a knowledgeable hat maker.
Yeah. And that you bring up a great point, which is money, which is, the fact that folks see some of my hats, and I've mentioned I've sold some hats. And then the next question is there a lot of money in that? It's like, should I get into that? I'm like, no.
Yeah, the honest answer, no.
Right.
Which loops back again to your original question is, um, in the note that I sent to you, there's sort of two questions, or
Yeah.
there's two streams, because it's like, okay, so you want to get into hatting, at what level are you aiming for?
Right.
Is this as a hobbyist to make a hat or two for yourself and for your wife or friends,
Yeah.
or is your intention to open a business?
Right.
And they're two very, very distinct pathways, because if the answer is no, I want to be a professional hatter, I want to open my shop,
Yeah.
so the next words out of my mouth are, it's a very, very hard way to earn a living,
Right.
and you better know that going in, so that, like, you have a plan and you have the resources to a equip yourself, and b withstand the lean months or years
Yeah.
as you establish a name. Hatting is no different than how many clothing designers are out there, or jewelry designers, or name a
Correct.
craft. um, there's a lot of struggling uh, craftsmen out there that are producing brilliant goods.
Right.
That's not the impediment. It's how do you find your market?
Right. Right.
And it's like, um, I've seen a lot of hatters come and go in my time. Just it's like they start off with big dreams and great intentions, and it just never comes to pass.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just received it. Um, I just bought almost 500 yards of vintage ribbon from a hat maker in Sweden, who's
Right.
closing up his shop and selling everything off after a couple of years,
Yeah.
when he discovered that it's a tough biz.
Yeah, and intuitively, it's not really difficult to understand when you think about how how obviously hats, that market, the market that you're dealing with has shrunk dramatically over the decades, and then obviously you have the competing. Right, you got the rise of festival hats. So if you're not into making festival hats, maybe you're also now not accessing a market that that might be available to you. And it's sobering to be able to get at least the right, information, right? And maybe a better question is, how could I do this? If I were to entertain this, how could I make this happen with the right expectations and the right game plan, so that I'm less likely to fall by the wayside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's a question that has to be core to your decision. Otherwise, you're setting yourself up for disappointment and actual financial loss.
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess Robert, and I know we've mentioned this before, but I just want to make sure for the folks that weren't privy, like, is there a core set of skill sets you would say for somebody like have this skill set, or maybe there is not? Maybe you don't need any skill set per se, but what skill sets will you have to learn to develop over the course of becoming a good hat maker?
Another great question. I think I'm a really good example. I have mild arthritis in my hands.
Yeah.
I'm not terribly adept at fine fine motor skills.
Yeah.
So sewing is not high up on my skill set. And yet, something I didn't quite appreciate when I started hatting is like just how much sewing is involved.
Right.
I don't know, just off the top of my head, like half the time of making a hat is involved in a needle and thread. But having said that, I think the best, or the most important, maybe you don't want to call it a skill set, but attribute, is perseverance.
Yeah. Okay.
You just, because it, in the beginning, it was really frustrating because, I mean, little background, I'm a hat collector, and I've been a hat collector for 25 years.
Yeah.
And so going into it, like, I know hats,
Right.
at least from the outside looking in. It's like I know what constitutes a great hat.
Right.
So that gives me a leg up. But the downside is that in the beginning, like doing the ribbon work, the bow work, I had the image, like I knew what good work looked like.
Yeah.
And then I looked at my work, and it's like, it ain't the same.
Right.
There's a gap
Right.
here. So it was really frustrating because I knew where I had to go, but maybe without perseverance, I would have thrown in the towel, because
Yeah.
it took me a while to get there.
Right.
And I think, and eventually, I gained competence,
Right.
and it
Right.
wasn't so frustrating, and I didn't make my fingers bleed. you know, but that took the willingness to get past the crap results and the frustration and all of that.
Yeah. Stick to itness, right?
Yes, yeah. I think and I think if you look through the thread of my life, I think the attribute that I have developed that has served me so well is, like, I'm a grinder.
Yeah.
I'm just, it's like I'm not the most talented guy in whatever endeavor I pick up,
Right.
but I'm a grinder.
Yeah.
And I will suffer the frustration, the embarrassment, and I'll just grind my way through it.
Yeah, and that's a great attribute. I mean, I watch a lot of mixed martial arts, and then you got a lot of folks that are former wrestlers, right? Either well, oftentimes at the collegiate level, but they always talk about that willingness to grind. That's why those guys, some of them start off with this wrestling base, but they're able to pick up these other skill sets, these other fighting skills with their striking, because they're just used to just grinding through everything. So all the practices, all the hard work it takes to be able to acquire those skills, even once you get into adulthood, and you become expert in one domain, they'll use that to be able to pick up these new skill sets and then essentially become a well-rounded fighter. So I think that really really rings true.
It's the baseball is my sport. It's something I played for 70 years now.
Yeah.
I picked up a glove when I was 6 and I was hooked.
Yeah.
And it's sort of akin to that when you look at the best baseball managers,
right,
certainly at the major league level, very few of them were superstars as players.
Correct.
A lot of them, a number of them, never even made it to the major leagues.
Yeah.
And in my books, it's like they're the grinders.
Right.
And because they weren't blessed with a huge amount of talent, they had no choice but to grind.
Right.
And out of that, they make great managers because they know the game.
Yeah.
And they're able to teach it. Whereas a superstar, in a
Ted
sense,
Williams comes to mind because I know he was controversial as a manager. It's like, why can't you hit?
Yeah, just hit the thing,
Yeah, hit the ball.
Like apparently Bob Gibson was the worst pitching coach ever.
There you go.
Just go to the mound and he just to say, throw strikes.
Right.
And you turn around and walk away. It's like, and it's like, it's understandable because they never had to grind. They just knew how to do it.
Right.
At their core, they would just roll out of bed and do it.
Yeah.
So going back to hatting, it's just that, Art Fawcett is a great example because he came to hat making. He was well into his 50s,
right,
when he came to it, and his life's work up until that point is he was a bricklayer, a mason.
Yeah.
Doing high-level, expensive installations in the Hollywood Hills, and he wasn't doing brick walls for farmers. They were Architectural Digest kinds of things. I mean, that's what they ended up in. But it's like a bricklayer.
Right.
He turned out to be a pretty good hatter.
Yeah, I'll say. Yeah, and this naturally leads up to the question, and I know you addressed it in your notes, but we'll bring it back up in terms of tools, right? Obviously, you probably need a requisite number of tools. What would you kind of advise for somebody that's decided, hey, I'm going to go and give this a try? Where should I start?
Yeah, and that's where the question comes in too. It's like, what's your intention? Do you want to be a hobbyist making hats for yourself, or do you want to turn this into a business? Yeah. Because they're two very different wants and needs.
Yeah.
But I think, unless you have deep pockets, I think regardless of what your intentions, you need to be really, really cautious how you spend your money.
Right.
Because it can be a really deep rabbit hole.
Right.
I'm 8 years in and I still got stuff on my wish list.
Yeah.
It's never ending.
Yeah.
But again, another great development is just the whole 3D print field.
Yes.
And because that's lowered the cost of entry hugely.
Right.
So that when I was making the notes for this, and so I went online. I went to Etsy, and I was looking at different hatters, and a lot of them offer uh, basic entry packages.
Right.
And so the number I came up with is, you know, about $1,000
Yeah.
will get you started.
Right.
You know, which isn't probably a lot more money than learning how to knit, but you know, it's doable.
Yeah.
Um, but then, but that's, um, I mean, that will allow you to make one hat, you know, in one
In
size
one size.
and in general, you know, one style. You know,
Yeah.
you can trim it differently, but say if I wanted to start off and I just wanted to make a hat for myself, then you're looking at $1,000.
Right.
But if it's then okay, I want to make hats for friends and family, then you need, you know, you need a block and a flange to fit
Yeah.
them. Um, so it, you know, you can see from there, it just, you know, it's like at this point I've got I have about 100 blocks and about 100 flanges.
Right.
Um,
Yeah. And Josh is confirming, yeah, that sounds like right around the right price.
oh, good, good. But then you'll also find that as you like, that will get you started, and in most endeavors, and in the beginning it was kind of interesting and challenging, is because I'd have to do workarounds. You know, I'd have a task
Yeah.
to do, but I wouldn't have the right tool, and I wouldn't want to rush out and buy that tool. So it's like,
Right.
okay, how do I do this? So in the beginning, it was kind of exciting because I challenged my gray matter, and it's like, okay, how am I gonna do this?
Yeah.
But if you decide to do this on a serious level, what I found is those workarounds get really tiresome
Right.
quite quickly, and
Yeah.
that I don't know, it was maybe 5 years in where I started to have um, like a real selection, and certainly now it's the case where I have something to do, and it's like I can just reach up and grab the right flange, the right block, and it's like I
Yeah.
don't have to do a workaround.
And that reminds me of like the movie Gran Torino, one of my all-time favorite movies, Clint Eastwood, where he's talking to Tao, the boy next door, and he's just amazed by the number of tools, in his garage. And he's like, "How do you get all this?" And he's like, "Well, you don't just get all this at once. You know, a man acquires tools over the course of his lifetime, based on the need that arises, and eventually you get to this."
Yeah.
So I love that movie.
After
um,
after I left university, um, I was so tired of reading, writing essays,
yeah,
but there was so many things I didn't know how to do, and one of them was auto mechanics.
yeah,
I knew nothing about a car, and it really bothered me.
right.
So I thought, okay, I'm going to become an auto mechanic. And this was back in the day when, um, so I just went walking around to gas stations, knocking on
Yeah,
doors, saying, I want to be a mechanic, you know, and a lot of them would just look at me and shake their head. But I got one guy who's his gas jockey had just quit. So he ran the shop, and he says, I'll make you a deal. You pump
yeah,
my gas, and when it's not busy, you come work with me in the shop and I'll teach you. So it was like I got to learn auto mechanics, and I made $1.25 an hour.
yeah,
But I had no tools, like none, nada.
right.
And so then I proceeded to buy um, beater cars and um, tear them down, put them back together again. So I did that, like what Eastwood did, is like, as I
Yeah,
needed a tool,
right.
okay, and I went out and bought it, and I could justify it because um, I was saving the money. Like if I took it to a mechanic, it was going to
Right.
cost me a lot more than the tool. And before, I don't know, it took me a couple of years, but at the end of a couple
Yeah.
of years, I had a decent selection of tools.
Yeah. Yeah.
So hatting is very similar to that, unless you're blessed with deep pockets.
Right. Right. And
Um,
obviously, besides the tools, the nice thing I liked about the notes that you had put together is like the instruction, right? So the guide, and you had it listed in a very stepwise manner, which I appreciated because really it started off with what can you get for free or close to free, and I think your the Hat Talk e-magazine back articles. And the thing is, I always see you referencing those when you're communicating with other hatters, and I think that's such a great use because it's on $5. That, I mean, that's basically free.
yeah, and I mean you can actually get it for free
Oh, okay.
if you're because they offer. So just let me give a bit of background. October of 2023, I started to write articles for Hat Talk magazine. It's an
Yeah.
online e-magazine, and so every month from October of 23 to the present, I'm still writing for them. Is
Yeah.
an instruction about 1,500 words, lots of pictures,
Yeah.
covering the A to Z of hat making.
Yeah.
And subscriptions are $5 a month. They offer, I think it's a 2-week free trial. So if you have a printer and you're skilled, you can extract my article.
Yeah.
They're all in the archives, everyone. So you could, because I've heard from hatters who've done this, where they've gone in, they've printed off just my articles,
Yeah.
and then put it in a spiral bound notebook, and they
Yeah.
keep it at their shop bench. And then when they're doing a task, they just flip to that page, and there it is. And
Yeah.
so for the cost of the paper and the ink, you've got. I printed one off for myself, and it's about. I stopped doing it because I've pretty much covered the A to Z of hat making, and now it's kind of
Yeah.
into ancillary topics. But I think there's about 150 pages that really covers, well, more than the basics. And the report, like, people like it, people get value out of it. So
Yeah. Yeah.
and it's
And
for,
Josh just chimed in talking about the articles. They could be made into an ebook to sell. He took the free option and printed them all off. I mean, sounds like just tremendous value. And and you also provided like another option in terms of is the e-course, right? So the hatcourses.com for online video instruction also sounds pretty reasonable at $125. And I
yeah.
know that Paul, our very own Paul, has taken that up, and he really always references how invaluable that course was.
Yeah, I've got good feedback. It was in partnership with uh, the owner of Hat Talk magazine and
Yeah.
another woman, the woman that owns Guy Morse Brown Hat Blocks, and so they provided the funding, and we hired a professional videographer.
Yeah.
He came in and shot about a week's worth of footage, and then edited down to about 4 hours.
Yeah.
So it's professionally shot, professionally edited. It's all indexed. It's like top quality.
Yeah.
And I think they're selling it for 125. Then last year they had it on a Black Friday special at 25% off, and it's a little bit more basic. Because my two partners, their contact base is through it's milliners as opposed to hat makers, and the reason they made the video is that they had there was a lot of interest amongst milliners to begin to make men's hats, to kind of nibble into our territory as the interest in that area grew. But there's a wealth of information on millinery, and at the time nothing on hat making. So
Right.
this was their idea, but they didn't. It was kind of their money, their funding. So I had a voice, but it wasn't. It wasn't the deciding one.
Right.
I wanted it to be more comprehensive, whereas they wanted to narrow the scope and keep it simpler.
Right.
So in the video there, we didn't cover brim binding, and I forget. There's a couple of other areas that that are they're certainly part of the hat making process, but they are somewhat tangential, and they
Yeah.
just wanted to keep it to the making of a hat. So it's like that's fine. So in that regard, the magazine articles are a really good complement to it because I have two articles on brim
Right.
binding.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And you mentioned in there the next step would be in-person workshops, which definitely the cost comes up considerably. But I want to just let you chime in on that.
yeah. There's I um probably Tim, the owner of Pure Beaver Hat Supply.
Yeah.
He probably has the one that more people have done of on the custom hat Facebook
Yeah.
page, and he gets stellar reviews. It's a 5 day intensive, and people come out of there with um, a high degree of confidence in their hat
Right.
making. It's like 5 full days.
Yeah.
Um, and I know Tim and I have had disagreement on this, which we've had over the years of
Yeah.
varying degrees. But I've cautioned people about because I think Tim's price is $4,000 for the course.
Right.
Then of course you got to fly and hotel and food and car rental and all of that stuff. So you're looking at I don't know somewhere between 5 and 6 G's for the
Yeah.
course. So that's a big nut to get off.
Right.
You got to build a lot of hats to recoup that money.
Right.
So I've cautioned people about when you're starting off as a hatter, you really have to come to terms with how you spend your resources.
Yeah.
Because unless you've got unlimited um, capital, it's going to come down to a choice. And so you really need to come to terms with, of all the things I need to set up a business, can I afford $6,000 for instruction?
Right.
One of the things that I know my situation is unique, but I was going to go study with art in the beginning, but then COVID happened. It's like just and so it's like okay, that ship has sailed because
Right.
art was going to retire to Florida, and I thought, well, I don't want to fly across you know the continent. So I thought,
Yeah.
but then that the border reopened and Art decided to stay in Oregon. So I contacted him again and said, is your offer still open?
Yeah.
And he said, yeah, come on down. And so the upside was um, I had almost 2 years experience as a hat maker by the time I got down to see Art.
Right.
So it was our time together was highly productive because he wasn't teaching me the basics.
Right.
I spent 2 years learning that,
Yeah.
and so um, he refined my work. It was funny. He said to me, he says, "I don't know what it is about you, but he says if there's a hard way and an easy way to do something, he
Right.
says you always choose the hard way. What's up with that?"
Yeah.
So he would show me like his way of doing it. It was like, oh,
Right.
I hadn't thought of that.
Right.
So I mean, it was really, really edifying because it validated that okay, I have good instincts.
Yeah.
My skills might not be the best, but at least like I'm on the right track.
Yeah.
And so I left there with great confidence that okay, I can do this. You know, I'm
Yeah.
not. Um, uh, the imposter syndrome was still quite high, but I left there thinking, okay, it's in the within the realm of possibility.
Yeah.
Um,
And how did your relationship with art, like, how did that happen? I mean, I'm assuming if I had to guess, is that you essentially reached out to him to kind of just pick his brain, and then kind of like that relationship material.
it really started off as I was a customer.
Ah, okay, yeah, yeah,
I have three of his hats, um, and I guess I bought the second and the third one
yeah,
online, but I was like, I mean, it gives me an excuse to travel. So the first one I bought, I traveled down there,
yeah,
and and so over the course of a few years, anyways, of buying his hats
yeah,
and we had a motorhome, so we would spend a lot of time. We love Oregon,
yeah,
and I'd pop in to say hello, and I think it helped that going back to the note that I said about the so many hatters come and go,
yeah,
um, that I was I don't know I don't know 2.5 years in
yeah.
before I got down to see him, and so I kind of had bona fides in that I'm still here,
Right.
you know, and
Yeah.
I'm still willing to learn. Um,
Right.
so that helped.
Yeah. Yeah. He certainly, I remember he said something akin to like, get ready to get your ass chapped or something like akin to that. I thought that was,
Yeah, it was um, because I had um, the videographer that we used for the instructional video. I knew him because he had come to me, and he was looking to start a YouTube channel, and of course he
right.
was looking for content. So he said that if he could come in and video me making a hat,
Yeah.
um, then I could use those snippets in promotional videos, like do my own TikTok and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And they would be not instructional. He was just looking for content. So what he would do, um, I think he ended up with half a dozen videos, but it was so with me it was the video and then just music,
Right.
a little bit of background music, and it was just um, content for people who just wanted to watch interesting things.
Right.
So I had it was about an hour long video that he had condensed. So I sent that to Art. So Art got to watch me build a hat. So we really made good use of the time because Art had gone through it and he'd written pages of notes.
Yeah.
And so we were in his study, and I sat down, and he said something to the effect. He says, I hope you wore your asbestos underwear." He says, "Because I'm going to burn your ass." You know, it's like okay, it's like okay, you know, here we are, just like this is, um, and me being a grinder, it's like
Right.
this is perfect. You know,
Yeah.
he's not gonna, you know, he's not gonna stroke my ego. He's not gonna worry about hurting my feelings. It's like here it is, and it was
Right.
brilliant, just brilliant. So we went through the over the course of a few days. We went over the video, and he critiqued my technique or lack thereof. Yeah,
Yeah. And
but
I
it was
think
just
that's, yeah, the attitude, right? So, I mean, that's the part where, and again, it's easier for some than others, right? Not, maybe not everybody's used to, obviously we know, and I don't want to harp on like generational differences, but there are certain generational differences in the ability to receive feedback. um, and that's something that you want to try to work on as well, because it could hinder you. You know what I mean? Like something like that. I know from the workplace, and you get folks that they never got bad feedback in their entire school career. Maybe they get to the first job, they get their first performance appraisal, and they don't score off the charts. If they're lucky, they're in the middle somewhere, and for them that's a failure. And they're like, "What's going on?" And they start doing all the things. And I feel like that's attitudinal wise a major. It's part of that process that you need to kind of overcome.
Yeah, and I think for me it loops back to the grinder mentality, because it's like I've never been the superstar.
Yeah.
So as a grinder, the only way that I get better is through criticism.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't care if it's harsh. I don't care if it hurts my feelings, because I'm gonna grind.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Like,
absolutely.
Tell me the truth, and then I got something real to deal with.
Yeah.
Don't you dare try to shine me,
Right. And one of the other things on the note was about the idea, and I know Paul has mentioned this as well about his process, in terms of breaking down older hats,
Yes.
Vintage hats, getting them on the cheap, obviously if they're not, if they've been well loved, you're not really, you're probably doing it a favor to kind of give it new life. And, what can you tell us about that process and things to look out for?
I often I'm a huge proponent of that, because it's like that's how I learned. And it's I mean, a lot of times they were crap hats.
Yeah.
And they weren't like, once I kind of restored them, they still weren't really saleable, so but
Right.
that wasn't ever the idea. It was like, just give me a hat, I can tear it down and put it back together again.
Yeah.
And one of the things that was really, really valuable is the breadth of the quality of hat that I worked on.
Right.
And so that gave me an idea of what constitutes a well-made hat versus, oh my God, I can't believe they did that.
Right.
And it's like, it's quite staggering what's out there in terms of old hats and how they were put together. And it's and of course, you don't know if the hat has been already refurbished by a hat butcher, or this is actually came from the factory in that way. But it's like, hats with glued on ribbons, hats with bows and ribbon put together with staples.
Yeah.
And of course there's the glue pot and the things that are just, and like there's just glue smeared all over the inside of the, I'm thinking, oh dear God, like,
right.
There was a factory out there producing and selling this hat, and it's like, this is criminal.
Yeah.
And then on the other side of the coin, I'd come across a Borsalino.
Yes.
And like the felt would be like, the hat was destined for the garbage, and yet the artistry, the craftsmanship that had gone into the sewing of this hat, like the stitching on the ribbon, it's just like, there was one that it's like, it brought tears to my eyes.
Right.
It was like, oh my God, like it was from the 40s.
Yeah.
And at some point there was a factory, and there was a woman likely sitting in that factory doing this incredible work, hat after hat after, and it was like, oh dear God, I could live 2 more lifetimes and never approach that level of artistry.
Yeah. And you make a great point about the eras, because I don't have the privilege of owning a fair number of Borsalinos to make those kind of comparisons, but I have heard them, about the heyday, and obviously everybody has opinions. I don't know enough to weigh in heavily on that, but I do know that it's a thing. I have noticed it with even like with hats from some of the Dobbs hat. I have more examples of Dobbs. And besides the fact that some models were made to a price point, you get differences in the era, and obviously as the market probably started to shrink, some of these cost cutting methods that you've probably seen some of these companies implement so they can stay afloat probably came into fruition. But it's really nice to see that somebody that can confirm kind of like, hey, I broke this down, that it was a legit piece of work.
Yeah, and it exquisite, and it's like there would never be. I've custom hats from, I don't know, maybe a dozen different hat makers, and all top of the craft hat makers, and nothing compares to the Borsalinos from the 40s in terms of the stitching quality.
Yeah.
So just to close that window. So I haven't bought a beater hat in a long time, so I really don't know what that market is like now, and if you can still. I know on Facebook Marketplace, it's hats come up all the time, and for the most part, they're way overpriced. But every so often, a hat will come up and they'll want $30 for it, and I'll bet you if you threw them an offer in at 15, they jump. So I think there are beater hats out there.
Yeah. And the material, it might be worth that, or it might be way just in the material alone to work with if you're going to repurpose it somehow.
Yeah. And even not if you buy you buy in a sense, you're buying a felt for $15.
Yeah.
And you can remake it once or twice or three times. It's like there's nothing to stop you from rebuilding it, tearing it down, and doing it over again.
Yeah. And
yeah.
That brings me to like the idea of, right, so the developing a niche, right? That kind of dovetails into like personalization. Is there a point where, in the process where a hatter should be a little bit more paying attention to, how do I stand out, right? What's my signature? What's going to be my brand?
Yeah. And I think, it's probably something you can't really answer in the beginning, because you probably don't know. It was easy for me in that, like, I live up here in Canada. I've probably been on 2 ranches in my life, so for me to make a true Western hat, it just, it's not in my world. And the hats that excited me, the hats I collected, were largely fedoras.
Right.
So it was easy for me that, like, that's my niche.
Right.
But I did. So I looked at, well, like, who do I admire as a hat maker?
Yeah.
And they were, I don't know what you want to call it, like generalists.
Yeah.
My first custom hat I bought from Mike Miller at Northwest Hats out of Eugene.
Yeah.
And I bought from him before he had his shop.
Yeah.
And he was a brilliant hatter back then, and now he's like, I don't know, 18 years more experience. But he was the hatter that I admired the most, because I think I have about a dozen of his hats.
Yeah.
And he has the ability that whatever I threw at him, even if it was just a description, not even a picture,
right,
he could replicate it. Yeah. He didn't have, that's what I say, I called him a generalist, in that, like, whatever I threw at him, he made it.
Yeah.
Whereas, Michael Gannon, another hatter, I have a number of his hats. He's in Northern California right now.
Yeah.
A brilliant hatter. And again, he was brilliant pretty much from the first hat I bought from him. I think it was back in 2014.
Yeah.
But and I say the but in that he tends to make like one style in a general sense, and it's like so.
Right.
So whenever I come across a picture of a hat on the internet, it's like, oh, that's a Gannon.
Right.
You know, it's like his hat. It's much like Michael Hoofwood.
Yes.
You know, you see one of Michael's hats, and it goes, oh, that's a Hoofwood.
Yes.
Whereas Mike Miller, in a sense, doesn't have a look,
Right.
because when you look at his offering, it's like A to Z,
Right.
and it's like that's who I want. That's the hatter I wanted to be. I wanted to be the guy that you send me a picture and you say, "Can you make me this hat?" And my response would be, "Yeah."
Right.
But the downside of that is that it's a harder road to hoe, and
Right.
it requires a much broader collection of blocks and flanges.
Yeah. And also vision, right? So I mean, it's almost like being a really good sketch artist. There has to be some of that. I want to say that a little bit of an innate talent in some of that to translate something like that into fruition. But again, I could be way off on that.
It's I mean the other way to go in a sense is I have three hats from Stephen Temkin. He ran he had the Leon Drexler brand. He was out of Toronto.
Yeah.
Another fellow kind of mentored by Art, and Art did it while he was still an active hatter.
Yeah.
And what Stephen did was kind of in between the two. He had about, just trying to think, he had maybe like 6 or 8 styles
Yeah.
that was in his catalog, and that was his offering.
Yeah.
You know, so he wasn't a hatter where, you know, I couldn't send him a picture of a westernish kind of hat and say, you know,
Yeah.
Steve, could you make me this hat? It's like he'd say, no, that's
Right.
not what I offer. I offer, you know, and he could tweak them in terms of I ordered a Lord's hat from him, and I asked him to bump the brim out a quarter of an inch, and he's like,
Yeah.
sure, I can do that. But you know, it's like he had a set offering,
Yeah.
and it once in a while he would add to it, but in the years that I knew him, his offering was the same.
Yeah.
You know, so that's a niche, because then you get to control, because I think he had 4 block styles that
Yeah.
he offered, and of the 8 hats, they were made from one of these 4 block profiles.
Yeah.
You know, so he was able to control the amount of equipment that he needed.
Yeah. That reminds me of a thing, because Paul, he used this phrase often, and I thought it was really telling, one, about Paul, but I think it might actually generalize to a decent number of hatters, is the idea of imposter syndrome. Does that ever go away? And if it does, maybe when would,
I don't know if it's just at the point where I'm at in my life, but yeah, I mean, it's real.
Yeah.
And I know you're not supposed to compare.
Yeah.
And I do, because I have all these hats, custom hats.
Yeah.
That are the standard to which I strive.
Yeah.
And my imposter syndrome is fed by, it's like, I'm not there yet.
Yeah.
And so, in a sense, you can use that to drive yourself crazy.
Right.
Or you can use it to drive yourself, which is not a bad thing.
Yeah.
You know, because it's something that I say to new hatters, is that it's all process. That's all there is.
Yeah.
There's only the making of a hat. There's no destination. You are not going to reach a point in your life where you say, I've arrived.
Right.
I am now a master hatter.
Right.
You don't want to get, why would you want to get there?
Yeah. It's the dark side of satisfaction, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I
I
love
all every hat, I do have a standard, and if it doesn't meet that standard, it doesn't get shipped out.
that. Yeah.
But every hat that I ship out, I look at it and it's like, I probably could have done that better.
Yeah. Mm. I love that. I love that.
And and again, maybe it's a function of old age, but it's like I'm okay with that because
Yeah.
I don't use it to torture myself.
Yeah. Yeah. That I think that's great. And you see it, I've had the pleasure of seeing you interact with Paul. Obviously you guys had different journeys, but the questions that you ask Paul, it kind of tells me a lot about where, the type of person that you are, right? That kind of still trying, and you're kind of, and still trying to better yourself and figure out, okay, is there something that I haven't figured out yet that I need to figure out? Maybe I can do that by asking the right questions. So
I'll tell you it's something I came to on my holiday, and so full disclosure, like I sew in all of my liners.
yeah,
I don't do it the accepted way.
I see.
I sew them in with a running base stitch, 1.5 inches, maybe 2 inches in length, but I pierce the felt. My
Yeah.
needle comes to the outside and then goes back in.
Yeah.
That's not the accepted way.
Okay.
In a well-made hat, the needle does not pierce to the outside. It channels.
Yeah.
And then so the needle never sees the outside of the hat.
Yeah.
So now 8 years in, I still can't do that.
Yeah.
I don't have the dexterity in my fingers. And actually, my very skilled wife, I gave it to her, and she couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And so that was a number of years ago. So I gave up.
Yeah.
But it's like, you know what? I have to learn how to do this before I pack this in. So
Right.
that's the next thing on my list and I just need to get a beater hat and just keep doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we have Nathan asking if we had a few more minutes to chime in some questions about the straw hat. Come on in. If you Robert, how are you doing on time?
I'm good.
Good. Okay. So come on in, Nathan. Join us. Honestly, this has been a great discussion. And I think right now, I guess I'll just make sure that Robert doesn't have anything else he wants to share before we jump into to straw hats.
Just one last thing, because it was one thing that Paul had mentioned, and that was to talk briefly about finding a mentor.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure that's possible. As I said, I think I consider myself blessed. But in talking with, just anecdotally with other established hatters, one of the things that they mention is they don't want to waste their time because there's so many would-be hatters come and go.
Right.
And so if you're on the lookout for a mentor, perhaps don't do it in the beginning. Like follow my model, which wasn't intentional. It just COVID did it.
Yeah.
But it's sort of like, like prove your mettle, and that you have high intentionality, that you're not a fly-by-nighter,
Right.
and then you might be more likely to find someone willing to spend time with you.
Yeah.
My my I can't remember. I think it was through the Fedora Lounge, and I was dealing with a fellow in Lithuania, youngish fellow, and he went on about like he discovered hats and hat making, and he was just kind of over the moon. It's like I found my life's work.
Yeah.
This is it. I'm going to be a hatter no matter what. Like he was just so, and I was kind of taken by his his youth and enthusiasm, and so we talked, and so he actually came over here, lived with me for a week.
Wow.
And worked with me in the shop.
Yeah.
No charge. He was a good guy. It was fun.
Yeah.
And it's like from my point of view, I felt good because here I'm helping this young guy because like this is his life's work. This is his passion. And I thought, how it's easy to get enrolled in that because it's like I genuinely wanted to help the guy. And it's like he went home and under a year, probably kind of 9 months, he was out.
Wow.
And he was on. Well, he actually hadn't found the next thing, but he discovered that, oh, this is hard.
Yeah.
And apparently it's not my life's work because it's too hard.
Right.
So in that moment, it's like, okay, I haven't given up my willingness to help people, but I'm going to be more circumspect in who I help. Because it's
sure.
Yeah.
And that's probably a good lesson to make sure that really be honest with yourself before you, because obviously, again, the greatest thing, and I mentioned this ad nauseum, the greatest thing we can offer to any other person is our time. And, besides the fact that Robert's time is valuable, you might be taking away from the next person, if you do a little haphazard. Again, and not everybody, I don't think anybody really intends to do that. But if you know that there's a possibility, you got to be a little careful because, you could be spoiling it for the next person. I mean, I don't know. But
yeah, because obviously, it's like when I talk to other hatters that have the perspective that it's like, no, there's just too many flaky people out there.
Yeah.
I don't like, they're not pulling that out of thin air. I would suspect they've had the experience that I had and are now, and have developed this somewhat jaded perspective. And it's like, no, I've been burnt before. I'm not going to be burnt again.
Right. Hey, that's, again, just, the passion can be there and all that. Like I said, the road to hell is paved with good intentions, but, but we got my man, Nathan here. Nathan, Straw Hungry. I love it. Straw Hat Hungry.
Hey guys, how are you? How are you guys today? Got the World Traveler is back at his homestead, so it's good to have you back, and can't wait to hear more experiences about your travels. I'll be transparent. I haven't caught the show. I've been a little busy on my side of the world, but I know that Robert and I kind of went back and forth a little bit about a straw. I didn't realize he built straw hats, and I was like, okay, well, you know what? I could use another straw hat. So I was kind of looking at an open road style. I think him and I kind of went back and forth a little bit. Is it a 2 3/4 brim on an open road? I think.
Yeah.
And I'm a 59.5, so a 60. I can work that. So, so what questions do you have for me, Robert? Other than the Cattleman crease, I know you said a bound edge because I think you were having to cut it down or something.
Yeah, so it's really interesting, Nathan, because I just started a build yesterday on a Panama, and the client he's a 59.5 long oval.
That's exactly what I am. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so it's and I have two sizes, and the one size because it's luckily he wants a fedora styling, and so at that 59.5 I can get him a touch over 2.5 on the brim, which is not enough for the open road. But then I have the next size up it's about probably a 3.5 inch brim,
Yeah.
which is too much. But and I've never done this, but I'm itching to try, and that's to cut it down and bind the brim.
Oh,
And
wonderful.
that way we can get you the exact dimension that you want.
Yeah.
And
how high is the crown on a open road? Is a open road crown 4 1/4? I don't even know.
Yeah, generally I block it to, depending on the size, but probably at your size I'd block it to like, we'll see if I could block it to 5.5.
Mm-hmm.
And then that gives me at least an inch to play with to get the crease rate.
Okay, wonderful. The leather sweatband, I'm not sure what color the straw is. Or do you think black or brown would be?
Generally, I have some natural.
Okay.
And that's what I put in, unless the customer requests. And then I have I forget what it's called, but it's like it's a light, it's an actual brown, but it's a light brown. So okay. I can show you pictures of that when we get the hat set up, and you can decide which one. And then of course there's no lining, but I put in a little it's not my full logo, it's just the wolf paw.
Yeah.
On a piece of linen in the
inside crown.
Inside the crown, yeah.
Oh, nice. Okay. Good deal.
And then we can talk about because the OR has a thin ribbon, but depending on, we're not locked into that, but just give some thought to so on the brim binding, I suggest, like, I have some silver belly, which will match the straw, so you get the brim binding without the great contrast.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we could decide what to do on the crown, what color on the crown. So give that some thought.
Okay. Yeah, I was thinking maybe maybe brown, a shade of brown.
Yeah, I've got tons of brown in varying widths. So it's like we could go with a thin ribbon or a like a mid rib, like a 1 inch, like something.
So on the ribbon, if I think about it today, and is that measured in like millimeters, or like how is that measured? So I can kind of say, hey, do you have anything like that size or whatever?
Yeah, in general, it's 1/2 inch, 3/4, or 1.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's in lean, but roughly that's how it translates. It might be a millimeter shift either way.
I don't think I have a tape measure with me, so I'll look at that. 1/2 inch, 3/4, or inch. Okay.
Yeah, and I probably have the most in brown. Like I've got the whole. I just got tons of browns and multiple shades, and so.
Okay.
And also give some thought to, because with the open road, it has the 1/2 inch, and then it has the campaign bow.
Yeah.
So give some thought if that's what you want, or if you wanted to go, more traditional. Just give that some thought.
Yeah. So I can either put a bow or just even minimize it even from there and not have a bow and just have a band.
Right.
Yeah, I think that would kind of set it apart if I just went. Luke knows me. I'm always looking for something that's just a little bit outside the lines, right? So I think like a single band. I think because from far away you may look at it, so yeah, that's an open road, but then as you get up, it's like, well, hey, hang on a minute, what is that?
Yeah.
I also
Yeah.
I have a few of the um, braided horsehair bands,
Oh boy.
and they're I think they're half-inch as well. So you could do the same thing, but with the interest of the.
Is that?
Is this what you got here, Luke?
I think this is, but I'm not positive.
These are
this is a Dunlap that I have, vintage Dunlap Supreme.
Yeah, these are much more lower profile. They're
okay.
From a distance, they would look somewhat like a leather band.
I see. Yeah.
And then as you get close, you can see the pattern that's woven into it.
I like that.
You can get them with.
I like that. Yeah.
I have. You can get them with tassels, or most of my stock is. I prefer them because I don't make Western hats. They're not tasseled.
Right.
I like that. So yeah, so it would just be just a band, right? There's not a lot of like tassel or anything else that's kind of
just
okay.
Just a band, and then they're adjustable, so you'd cinch them on, and then usually straw hats are quite slippery, so I'll put in like a couple of tack stitches just to stop it from riding up.
Okay. So yeah, I like that. So the horsehair band, natural sweatband. Yeah, I think that covers it, right? The brim, bound edge, cattleman crease, natural sweatband, horsehair hat band. Am I missing anything?
Can't wait to see this.
No, I think we got it. I got it. I'm just madly making notes here, but no, I think we got it. And I'll keep you posted along the way, at the varying stages, and we can, make adjustments as we go.
And I'll shoot. I'll put my email up in the network chat.
Yeah.
And you can send me the invoice. I don't know if you want up front or in the end, but you just let me know. But I'll put my email there. But yeah, and then we'll do an unboxing on the stream whenever it gets here.
I love it.
Yeah, cool.
Love it. This is again a pleasure to see Nathan spending his money on the channel, especially with one of our hatters as well. So that's an extra bonus.
Yeah, I don't recall. Have I ever seen a video from an unboxing of a custom straw?
Not on this channel.
I don't know that I have. So
yeah, well,
people unbox, their Stetsons and Resistals and things like that. But as far as a custom straw, because I think that's even more rare than the felt, for sure. So yeah.
Looking forward to it. All right. Well, guys. Oh yeah, Robert, you had anything?
No, I was just checking my notes, and I think we're good. I think we got it all covered. And
all right. Well, I want to thank you, Robert, for that great. Like I said, I feel like we covered a good swath. Obviously, next week we're gonna tackle into what makes a good quality hat. So I'm looking forward to that, definitely for myself, and I'm sure the audience as well. I also want to thank Nathan for popping in and letting us watch him spend some money. Some good hat money, so that's good. We're looking forward to seeing that unboxing here on the channel, so stay tuned to that. I also want to thank my moderators. We got Morgan, Ian, and Josh in the chat, as well as Jedi. I appreciate you guys tuning in, and as always, you know how I'm going to leave you. Support our good folks, just like Nathan is in the Good Luke's network. Support our good hat folks outside the Good Luke's network. And even if you don't, right? Like, even if you choose not to support, the one thing you got to do, or else we'll get Jeremiah Dunmeyer of Tulsa King, who wears an open road. We'll get Jeremiah Dunmeyer after you. Otherwise, the one thing you got to do is you got to stay hatting, my friend. Have a great day. Ciao, everybody. Ciao.